And so, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. I also want to note that the recording will be available on our Office of Justice, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion YouTube channel. So please, this is where you can subscribe to the channel. This is where you can find all the symposium recordings that have happened this week. So with that, welcome everyone to today's presentation, Inclusive Engagement Insights from LDT, Learning Agency Digital Accessibility Practices for Belonging at the 2024 CU Boulder Disability Symposium. My name is Dr. Patricia Gonzalez, she, her, ella, and I have the pleasure of introducing you all to Rosanna, Laura, and Allison for today's session. I am a 5'3" female with brown eyes, black hair, black color hair, and then I also identify as a Latina. I'm wearing a black long sleeve shirt, gold butterfly hoop earrings, and red lipstick. The University of Colorado Boulder is hosting the Disability Symposium to acknowledge that more work needs to be done to improve inclusion for people, including people and persons with disabilities on our campus and off campus. Efforts to improve inclusion must focus on students, staff, and faculty. The 2021 CU Boulder Campus Climate Survey report, which was released April of 2022, found that 44% of undergraduate students and 47% of graduate students reported experiencing instability in the prior 12 months. For students with disability, these numbers climbed from 54% to 62% respectively. The symposium is a springboard to continue campus-wide conversations and also conversation engaging community members in ways in which we can be more inclusive and improving access for all persons with disabilities. The symposium organizers will also like to take a moment to issue a land acknowledgement. The University of Colorado Boulder, Colorado flagship university, honor and recognizes the many contributions of Indigenous peoples in our state. CU Boulder acknowledges that it's located on the traditional territories and ancestral homelands of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, Ute, many other Native nations. Their forced removal from these territories has caused devastating and lasting impacts, while the University of Colorado Boulder can never undo or rectify the devastation brought on Indigenous peoples. We commit to improving and enhancing engagement with Indigenous peoples and issues locally and globally. We do this by recognizing and amplifying the voices of Indigenous CU Boulder students, staff, and faculty, along with their work, educating, conducting research, supporting student success, and integrating Indigenous knowledge, consulting, engaging, and working collaboratively with tribal nations to enhance our ability to provide access and culturally sensitive support to recruit, retain, and graduate Native students in a climate that is inclusive and respectful. And now I have the pleasure of welcoming Rosanna, Laura, and Allison. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, welcome everyone. Thank you, Patricia, for all this wonderful introduction. My name is Rosanna Miller Salas, and the project management of the learning and learning agency for students at the LDT program. I'm Latina with dark hair, dark eyes, and white skin. And I'm really excited to be here. The first thing we are going to do is a little activity. Let me share a whiteboard. The directions for this whiteboard I am putting in the chat. And what we are going to do is you will be able to explore this terminology that we have put in there, and you will be able to vote in all the terms that you are familiar with or you are able to explain how to use in your everyday work. And how that work is you go over to the bingo card. You will see the possibility to vote, so you can add click on the plus sign, and you will be able to vote and in all the terminology that you already use. If you have at least five terms, and you are able to mark there, and we will see who get at least five terms in there. And if you already have, you are able to vote in already five, we will discuss a little bit, and we hope you can share how you use in your work or in your design.
All right, would you like us to begin, Rosanna?
Yes.
Awesome. So we should see those numbers increasing. Again, if you hover over that square or color square, it will give you terms. And these are when you add a plus to the term, it's terms that you already know or you've heard. And we're playing bingo, so we should see those numbers increasing. So, for example, I'm going to go ahead and click on navigation, and I can see that one on the screen. So if everyone can join in. We have 5 minutes, and then after or how much time are we getting?
Let's do 3 minutes.
3 minutes, perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and invite everyone to join us.
Just if you have any difficulties interacting with the whiteboard, you can do it in paper. The idea for you can only the idea is you are familiar with the term, you click in the plus sign that appears over each term. If you are not familiar, you just don't click over it, and see how many terms are familiar to you.
Oh, great point. Brass actually said that no one should see when a plus goes up, a number goes up. Only Rosanna can see that. So it's anonymous. So don't feel like you're being tested or there's a quiz. No one should be able to see when you click the number. Thank you for bringing that up, which is helpful.
You can choose as many as you want. If you already have five, we consider you are doing your bingo. Yeah, but it's no, if you have more than that, even better. And like Patricia mentioned, it's anonymous, and it's just to become familiar with some terminologies. How much time we have left, Patricia?
We have about a minute, giving folks about a minute to continue. And I can see the only thing I could see is that, can you see the number? Is it 19 out of 24 votes, or is it just for me? I think that's, I have more. Okay, never mind. Just disregard the 19. I have a lot of work to do in learning a lot of the work that you're going to share today. So you can, we have about 37 seconds. Want to give folks more time to participate. Right, Rosanna. So I'm going to pass it back to you. At this time, everyone should have a chance to participate.
Okay, if you have at least five mark in there, click on your preferred gift on the right side, and you will see your wind dance. I wonder how many already have their winner dance. And if you want to know more about the terms definition, that is a document that explains it. And I would like to know if anyone would like to share one of the terms they choose and how they apply in their work. Let me put the terms definition here in the chat, so you can have.
So in the chat, Eva put limit the use of jargon.
Yeah, I mean, I can define that. Is that what you want me to talk about? Okay. Well, I come from STEM background, so all of my teaching has always been to be able to describe things in what we call natural language, and I'm trying to get our computer science faculty to learn how to do that as well, at least for their course descriptions. So I use natural language as a different term for avoiding jargon. But there's also, that falls under, not making acronym soup, making sure to define acronyms and things like that. But that's my take on that.
Oh, sounds great. Is any terminology that you would like to learn more about? You find some terms?
Oh, I want to know about most of the other ones. Like, I mean, some of them seem to be intuitive, but they're not things that I've actually done or actually tried. So yeah, no, there's a lot that I didn't know.
Okay. Well, to answer that question, when you are working developing, I'm answering the question about avoiding flashing content and avoiding sensory overload. When you are designing a digital experience, sensory overload can be many ways. You can use too much words, too many colors, a lot of music, for example. If flashing content is very specific about stroboscopic lights, for example, and that can lead to seizures, for example, if someone is epileptic or have autistic spectrum disorder, that can be that can lead to a reaction. So it's a differentiation there, that you can have a lot of content in one space, but not necessarily will lead to a seizure, for example. Another way. Semantic HTML is referred that when you are developing documentation, for example, HTML is a simple code you use to provide accessibility to screen readers. And when we do some specific approach to documents, or developing, for example, artifacts in Canvas, for example, you need to use HTML to be sure people with disabilities can access that information. Yeah. So we can go to the next slide. The goal of this is kind of understanding better how is integrate instructional design principles regarding inclusive design, and also applying IDEA principles, inclusive, diversity, equity and accessibility principles to develop different digital materials, digital resources, or experiences. As we can go to the next slide. One of the things I've been participating for about 10 years, I've been part of the LDT student agency for UC Denver for LDT students. And we take internal and external projects with different clients to give the students the opportunity to practice the skills they are acquiring in the program. And one of the main goals for us is the students became familiar with inclusive design and apply also idea principles in every project they develop. As a personal story, I was part of that program. I was a recent immigrant. My English is still in progress. And the ability to access information in a digital format really helped me to achieve my goals in the program and learn a lot of materials in the program. And that experience, together with my invisible disability, give me a perspective of what I want for students to understand when a user is interacting with digital material. So this became like a very strong vision of the student agency. We can go to the next slide. So we apply for every project we do internally or externally. We try to apply multiple means of representation, multiple means of action and expression. So the diverse of our students can express themselves as well, different ways to engage, and also flexible course materials. And that is something that we are learning all these years is it's always something we can learn. It's always something we can improve. And the rapport and the feedback we receive from our clients, from the students, and for the users help us to always polish and improve every project we achieve and we tackle. And like I say, it's a lot of things to learn. Every day I learn something new I want to incorporate in this field. And it's like someone I really follow is like, it's progress over perfection. The goal is always doing better, more accessible, and more inclusive for our students, for our clients, and for the people who will interact with the projects we are developing. Next slide. Integrating the framework of IDEA in digital platforms is to ensure all users are welcome and represent in digital spaces. And that can be as simple as trying to provide accurate translations or give closed captions or thinking in different ways that we can express materials we are developing to engage students or users from different backgrounds. Reflect the diversity in our experience and in content design, provide equal access to resources and opportunities through digital platforms. We work with different platforms like Canvas, Thinkific, Google Docs, Rise. So we always try to provide these different ways that the users with different needs can access that platforms. And of course, all this is integrated with the accessibility principles. Next slide. Was a previous one. Let me share. I will share some. Sorry, I'm trying to see my sharing right here. Okay. Everyone is able to see the screen? So this is the page of the learning agency. And one of the things, this is a little showing of the different projects that we are being doing along the years. For example, this was created by students and kind of telling us how we can teach them. And that was a very fun project that they were providing their perspective on how the faculty can teach them better. This course is what was been developing for about 3 years until we launched the course, providing accessibility principles and UL design in learning instructional design projects. So with the help of the students, we developed a syllabi and we present that to the program, and was approved, and it's been running for 3 years now, but it's a product of around 4 students in different semesters working together with us and providing their perspective. So it's a very organic sharing course that we are very proud of it. This was a podcast created to provide literacy instruction to different and diverse learners. Okay. This was created along with Apple to provide the Apple curriculum to students for disadvantaged backgrounds and for English second learners. And all these projects have in common that we really try to integrate our knowledge about digital accessibility, inclusive design, for internally and for external projects. We have here Laura and Allison, who are part of the student agency, and they develop a very interesting projects using this knowledge from the program and from working with the agency. And we really believe in collaborative design for everything. We are very proud to say this is the work of a group, and we are listening to different voices, and it's not just the product of one person without understanding different perspectives to develop these projects. And with this, I will asking if you have any questions, and then we will see what Laura and Allison want to share with us.
I have a quick question. If the faculty feel that they are time constrained and can't engage in all of these steps to improve universal access, what does research show, or what do you believe are like the 2 or 3 most important, or have the widest effect at improving access for students that faculty should consider focusing on?
I think one of the things that we will try to share with faculty is listening stories to students with different backgrounds and what they what they are looking in their courses and what will make that course more engaging and more easy to understand for them. Because you can have an incredible attractive course, but if your course is not accessible for all your students, it's not, you are not really sharing the content you want to share with them. I think the student perspective is very important to share with the faculty. Well, it's later you have any questions, we are here to answer. So Laura.
All right, hi. Let me go back to the slideshow. Okay. And are you all hearing me okay now? Okay. My name is Laura Pachorik, she, her, hers. I am a white individual with gray, blonde, and brown hair mixture. I'm wearing a blue and teal and black dress with some geometric designs. So I'm an undergraduate student and I was an intern for the learning agency from December until like the beginning of the semester. I'm still with one client working with them voluntarily. I'm majoring in English, writing, rhetoric, and technology, and my minor is digital media design for learning. I've been in higher education for almost 3 decades now, and early childhood education for just as long. And I feel like they work really well together, which I'm going to talk a little bit about. And I believe that being relationship-centered is a foundation for success in all of my work, and that's something that is really true for higher ed and early childhood ed and instructional design. One of my biggest sources of inspiration is a book called Inclusion Includes Us, Building Bridges and Removing Barriers in Early Childhood Classrooms. It's by Mike Huber. And it's great. I find it to be super helpful also for higher education work as well. So I kind of wanted to, this is actually perfect because it's kind of what Rosanna was just talking about. Something could be accessible, but it might never really be accessed if there's no sense of belonging. So I have like a dual monitor, so I'm going to look to the side occasionally. But what can impact belonging? This is something that Mike Huber talks about in that book, and that I think about all the time is like this, you could have it there, and he works in early childhood, so he has a classroom with children who come and families who come, and is very good at making sure it's designed for universal design for learning and accessible. He has children with varieties of strengths and needs, and really does the work, but he was very open about missing that connection with some of the children and families by kind of creating this classroom culture that really didn't always work for every person. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about a little bit with my work for the agency, is how belonging is really a big piece of this work. So belonging and accessibility really go hand in hand. They work together very well. So we have inclusive environments, which is so important, whether this is a digital environment or wherever you are in person, but creating accessible spaces fosters that sense of belonging for everyone. We need to consider everyone's backgrounds and how that there's so many things that make everyone who they are. And so we have to keep that in mind. And accessibility benefits really everyone who may have a variety of backgrounds. There's barriers to belonging. And we need to identify the challenges in accessing resources faced by groups who are underrepresented. and digital content access to ensure equal access to courses and academic programs. But specifically, I think this all goes to knowing your audience. And this is really, if whatever role you have, whether it's faculty, staff, in the classroom, in the office, online, knowing your audience is so important. And this is really ties to my English writing, rhetoric, and technology world, but also my work at the agency too. So knowing your audience is really huge. And so knowing their needs, their home lives, experiences, cultures, languages, all the things that we're talking about. It's almost like we were saying impossible to be 100% make sure you're reaching everyone, but we can get very close, and we can also create a environment where people will say feel comfortable to say this isn't working for me. So I wanted to give a client example. I was working with a client, it was a corporate client, which was new for me, but they were very worried because our organization is through a university, that what was going to be created would look a lot like a college course, and they did not want that. So I did a lot of this relationship building, and I really immersed myself into who this client was and the people who would be using the onboarding materials. And I met with them, I got to know them, and I really worked a lot to make things accessible, absolutely. But I also did things like included images of people who actually work at the company and real customers that they have. And I avoided some kinds of visuals that would make people say, this isn't really for me, like people in suits they mentioned. I used their words for things and used their terminology. That's just one of the things we talked about with the bingo. I explained how to access everything. I didn't just think they're going to know what to do with these learning materials. This was a digital onboarding. It was all online, built in Rise. I provided summaries and many options and all those types of things, and used inclusive language and really branded it to the company. But really, I did that through immersing myself in building these relationships. So I wanted to kind of just talk about how, like, things that maybe are next steps, like promoting awareness about accessibility, educating faculty and staff on importance of it, implementing policies. I love the idea of like making things kind of the default, so that like it's just kind of alt text is what's going to happen. It's the default setting, providing resources so that people can do this work, and like always looking to improve, like how can we make this better? So I do feel like immersive practices and relationship building is a big part of that. I'm going to stop my sharing really quickly on this. And so this was one of my clients. So, and this is one of the things on that learning agency select works page. You can see this hopefully. So you can see I used real pictures of the company and made things very simple. And so like in the course overview, they had real videos where it's people they work with talking. And so when somebody would look at this, they'd say, this was made for me. And like real customers and things that they would see in their work. So anyway, this is just one example of how like accessibility and belonging go hand in hand. And I am open to questions now if you have anything you think that, or any comments. Or one of the things I wanted to see is, do you see like something you can do in your own work with this to consider belonging as kind of like a part of this accessibility work? If you have ideas for that, you could write it in the chat, or you could share it, or if you have questions for, I think we need to move to Allison, but we can take a couple of minutes, I think, for this too. One thing, my other client is a journal, and I thought something really neat that they do is for manuscript submissions, they allow any kind of formatting. They don't have a rule, but once it's published, they're going to use like APA just to like keep it really open. So again, like people feel comfortable, like, this is what I wrote, this is my work, and I can submit it, and it don't have to fit to the culture of anything necessarily. Like, they can present it in their way. So, like, there's lots of examples of this to make sure that in all kinds of different ways, like in different applications, not necessarily even just course design, we can do this. Yeah, thank you for the comments. The more I'm in this work, I realize that, like, early childhood education and higher education, instructional design are all kind of like founded in these same ideas of, like, just knowing people and building those connections. And so that's something I really have a strong passion for, and I bring into my work at the agency. Thank you. I'm gonna put the slide back on for Allison.
That sounds good. Thank you, Laura. Awesome. So hello, my name is Allison Yu Babbitt. I am a white and Asian woman with dark hair and glasses on today. So I'm a student with the Learning Design and Technology program at UC Denver. I live in Vermont and I work as an instructional designer for Landmark College. My interests include building online community as well as developing technologies for and with neurodiverse learners. Next slide, please. So coming into the learning agency last winter, I had some specific goals that I had. And the first one was to learn from mentors and make connections. I wanted to develop projects on Canvas, which is a learning management system that many higher education institutions utilize. And I wanted to work on advancing accessibility. Next slide, please. So when Rosanna came to me about the Canvas accessibility project, I was super excited because it combined all of my goals that I had. And so this is a training that was formatted in Articulate Rise, and it focuses on creating accessible Canvas courses. We integrated the foundational aspects of accessible communications with tutorials on specific Canvas accessibility features. So this was a project filled with learning experiences for me. And the first one being I got to develop a project from ideation to completion while collaborating with my mentor. So that was awesome. And then I got to utilize new technologies, which is one of my favorite things to do. And so, for example, I got to use OBS Studios to do screen recordings. I used Adobe AI to clean the audio of my screen recordings. And then I also got to utilize NVDA, which is a free and downloadable screen reader. So that was awesome. And then throughout this project, I was implementing accessibility practices. For example, for each of my videos that I created, I also needed to create closed captions. So I got to go through the process of the fine details of what goes into that and the resources that you have to connect with to make that happen. So that was great. And then the last, maybe not the last thing, but what I have noted is that we had to come up with creative solutions around the Articulate Rise, the e-learning software that we were using to create this training, because this, I think, is a challenging part of accessibility, but also for me, I find it exciting that sometimes we are at the edge of what our technology is capable of right now. So we have to get creative around how we can make things accessible. So I will give you an example of that when we get to the demonstration. So the inclusivity impact of this training is that we hope it can be a resource for faculty members as they build their Canvas courses, and that they will implement these accessibility practices to support the digital learning of students across the ability spectrum. So now we're going to head into my project. I'm going to send a link to it in the chat. And I'm going to share my screen so I can help you navigate through it. All right, so we're going to navigate down to the specific section. I do invite you to come back and use this as a resource if you find it helpful. But we're going to go to the heading section today because this is one of the most important aspects of accessibility in my perspective. So we go into what is a heading. A heading is a descriptive label at the beginning of each section of information that you might have. The purpose of headings is to organize your content into a coded order that is formally known as HTML structure. And headings allow people using e-readers to navigate your content. So right here, as we scroll down, you'll see that we have this note right here, which is something that Rosanna and I kind of noted that needed to happen because this graphic underneath is an interaction that doesn't naturally have instructions built into Articulate Rise. So we put in the instructions of select the plus buttons on the graphic below to learn about headings in the rich content editor. You can also navigate by the arrows on top of each label. So would it be possible for us to take just a minute to go through this interaction or this graphic? I'm just going to give everybody a minute. Awesome. So how is everybody doing? Were you able to engage with that graphic? Awesome. Great. And now I'm going to scroll down and I want to share with you this video in the course that I created to demonstrate how somebody using a screen reader would navigate a course page that has headings versus a course page that doesn't have headings. And so for people who aren't familiar with what screen readers are, it's a technology that allows a person to navigate digital content primarily using your keyboard. So in this video, I was pressing the letter H to go forward in the headings and Shift plus H to move backwards.
Did you have audio in the video or it's just visual?
I do have audio. How do I share that audio with you in the...
So if you just exit your screen and then when you share screen again, you click sound, share sound, it will give you that option.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
No, don't worry. Thank you.
All right.
The purpose of e-readers is not only to read a computer screen, but also to give the user agency to move around the page. When you create headings, you're creating a structure for people to move about. So let's go through this page.
Clickable main landmark clickable welcome to music 101. Introduction heading level 2. Community guidelines heading level 2. Course structure heading level 2.
So now we have a general idea of what this page is about. Let's say we're interested in learning about the community guidelines. We can go back.
Community guidelines heading level 2.
And then read the following lines.
In this class, we prioritize creating a safe and inclusive space for all students. We expect all.
Let's observe a course page with no headings.
Welcome to Music 101.
Now this looks exactly the same, but my bolded sections were never formatted as headings.
No next heading.
So to engage with this content, students are going to have to go through this page line by line. This is not effective because digital media is not a linear story. It's a full experience. When you create your content with headings, you are creating the opportunity for deeper engagement and making your course accessible for students who are using e-readers.
Awesome. So just as I wrap up my section, I just want to extend a huge thank you to Rosanna for doing this project with me and teaching me so much about accessibility. And also thank the Learning Agency for having me and giving me this opportunity. It's really elevated my career. So, and thank you for all for engaging with my presentation. Oh, does anybody have any questions? I don't know if we'll do that in the next section as well, but if you have any specific questions for me, I'd be happy to take them. Yes, definitely. You can share this.
Oh, yeah, that's where I was going to go. It popped in there. I actually, as an academic advisor, and I'm actually gonna, yeah, so I wanted, I have this one, actually, if you can see that, see these documents on my screen behind me? I use them all the time, and I say to students, I'm like, they aren't accessible by a screen reader. They aren't readable by, and so I'm not allowed to put them on the department webpage, which is fine. You know, I follow the rules, but I still use it. And if a student, you know, comes in, or if I share it over email, it's one of the things that we've, you know, that our digital people were like, we can't fix that. We can't fix that flow chart. And I would love to try and figure out a way to fix the flow chart. Or, you know, it wouldn't be a bad thing to you know, to simplify it, because the students think that it's really helpful for them. It's their degree, computer science BA. Anyway, I don't want to take up too much time, but my question was going to be, what are the proprietary things that are coming out of CU, you know, this being a CU Denver thing, but it is a CU thing, and we're at CU Boulder, and, you know, what can we use and what can we have access to? And that's all.
Well, I definitely think that whenever it's used, that the Learning Agency and CU Denver needs to be credited, but to my understanding, it's a resource for everybody, because we want to make learning accessible to all learners. Yeah, and I would also, if you have access to Adobe Acrobat Pro, you might be able to look around and look into reading order, and if you were to upload that as a PDF, your flowchart.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a PDF, but what they tell me is that the screen reader can't read the PDF because of the way it's built. But
yeah, one of the other projects we have is about the PDF and accessibility, etc. We in the student agency, we are creating these resources for faculty, and I think there will be any issue to cross collaborate between institutions to share these resources we are creating. We are in the planning phase to create this not only for faculty but also for staff and students. So the idea is everyone is working together as a community, and we want to have these resources available for whoever needs them, and this will be gladly sharing any resources that you think maybe will be useful, and we are also welcoming any resource that we can use as well. I find the work at CU Boulder. I went a couple of weeks ago to the Accessibility Symposium, and I seen the work is doing in Boulder is amazing, it's inspiring, and I'm creating my report after this presentation to share with our faculty at the School of Education. Like, these resources are amazing. The thing is, we are just a few that is working in this, and sometimes feel a little solitary. But we are trying to create a strong collaboration community between institutions, and between departments as well.
Thank you so much to our speakers today for joining us. I want to point out that there are some free resources and links in the chat. I know that some of you are sharing different things that you've used, so please continue to share those tools. Before I launch the last poll, I want to thank you all, Rosanna, Lara, Allison. Thank you so much for your knowledge, and the work continues. We'll continue to share. If you feel comfortable, share your emails. I know that some of you mentioned doing some work on the side to support people, and maybe this is a way for people to reconnect with you as well. And so I'm going to launch their last poll, but just want to invite everyone to share some love, comments, or anything that you want to share. So I'm going to launch the last poll for us as we close out today's conversation. And so can everyone see the poll? Can you see the post? Yes. So these questions are asking, one, on the scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate your understanding of digital accessibility after today's presentation? And again, these are anonymous. 1, no understanding. 5, excellent understanding. Question 2, do you feel better equipped to implement digital accessibility in your work after this presentation? Yes, no, unsure. Question 3, what was your key takeaways from the presentation? And this is a short answer. If people feel comfortable sharing some thoughts, that would be great. You can also put those in the chat if you like. Number 4, which strategy or tool mentioned in the presentation do you plan to apply in your work? As well, you can put it in the chat or in question 4. Number 5, how likely are you to recommend this workshop on digital accessibility to others? And so I'm going to give folks some more time to answer. All right. So thank you all for being transparent. We can see that there's some growth from the first poll. Now you can see 71% are feeling more comfortable with 29 still at a 3 and continuing those conversations. We also can see that folks feel better equipped, right? We have 86% of participants who are saying, I feel more equipped because of the presentation. So thank you for sharing your knowledge with us today. And then what key takeaways? I see some in the chat. So we'll continue to keep some of those coming if you feel comfortable sharing. And then what strategies or tools are mentioned? Same. Please continue to share those in the chat as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and pass it over back to Rosanna and Laura along with Allison to see if they have anything last minute thoughts for you all before I stop the recording.
First of all, thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate this opportunity. I enjoy so much working with Laura, Allison, and meeting all you. In the student agency, please feel free to contact us. We are happy to share any resources and also to know better other things that you maybe want to share with us. So thank you about all this.
Thank you.